Can you explain, please, to our viewers why?
Well, we've never had a Prime Minister given a criminal sanction, as you just referred to it, while in office. So I just can't believe that, anybody can really believe that the most senior lawmaker in the country can survive being fined for breaking the laws that he himself had introduced only a few weeks earlier, and was on TV every other night exhorting us all to be following in the interests of the health and safety of the whole country. It just seems to me to be a completely untenable situation. I think, as you say, many of us were waiting to see the outcome of these inquiries. Well, the outcome came yesterday with a fine following a police investigation that the Prime Minister chosen to accept and pay. He could have appealed that if he thought it was wrong, but he's accepted it. So I just think, how do you stay in office when you're meant to be upheld to a higher standard than the rest of the country when, sadly, you've not lived up?
Well, it could be, Nigel Mills, that we now expect quite low standards of our politicians. That's what public life has sunk to.
Well, that's a pretty terrible state of affairs, isn't it, if that's the best excuse we can have for this. Actually, we don't expect all that much. I mean, what next? What more laws would you allow a Prime Minister to be seen to be breaking or bending? Where do you draw the line on this situation? I just think it's never been done before. It's not a good place to start. I mean, it's not a small technical matter. I mean, these were pretty strict rules introduced by the Prime Minister to protect the country in a health pandemic that millions of people around the country were observing in some of the most difficult personal situations imaginable. I mean, they're never going to forgive or forget a Prime Minister in this situation.
No, I absolutely understand that, and we get so many messages from people saying, look, our parents died in hospital, we weren't even able to go and visit them. I understand all of that, but even Boris Johnson's fiercest critics in the House of Commons, in the Parliamentary Party, people like Roger Gale from North Thanet, are saying, but now is not the time because there's a war on in Ukraine. Does it make sense to you to remove a PM whilst the Ukraine war is still going on?
It's not an ideal time, but how long is that war going to go on for? I mean, you could argue it started in 2008, got worse in 2014, got a lot worse a few weeks ago. I mean, it could go on for months or years. We're really saying we can't make any change at any point in that situation. The French, one of the biggest powers in NATO, are having an election where the opposing candidate in the runoff would have a hugely different policy to this war than the incumbent. I don't think all the candidates in any leadership election that we might have will all have the same policy towards Ukraine as the Prime Minister has. There'll be no real uncertainty about the direction of UK policy on this. But I just think this comes down to a bit of a fundamental point of, can we have somebody in the highest office of the land who has broken the law that he put in place while in that office? I mean, it just seems to me to be an untenable position, and heaven forbid he had to come back to ask the country for more restrictions due to some awful variant. I mean, who would listen? It's just I
get that.
Example.
I get that point totally. Yeah, we really can't put up with any more of do as I say, not as I do. I understand that completely. Final thought, Nigel, and remember, this is before the watershed, so please, I want clean language. What did the whip say to you and some of your parliamentary colleagues today?
I've not heard from the whips, actually, so you'll have to draw from that what you will.